Welcome to the Writers Weekly podcast, a forum geared toward the writing enthusiast and those who want to make money from their writing. I'm Brian Whiddon, managing editor of Writers Weekly, and I'll be your host along with Angela Hoy, the creator of Writers Weekly and president and CEO of BookLocker.com, a full-service book publishing company. Whether you want to learn how to become a professional writer, how to find writing gigs, or even publish your own book, then you come to the right place. We'll be discussing all kinds of topics relating to the writing and publishing industries. Don't forget, you can also click over to WritersWeekly.com. There, you'll find not only thousands of articles about professional writing, you can also find current paying markets and job listings to help you boost your writing career and even your bottom line. But for now, let's get on to this episode of the Writers Weekly podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Writers Weekly podcast. I am your host today, Angela Hoy. Brian Whiddon is usually your host.
I'm still here.
I have usurped this episode, and I'll explain why. On WritersWeekly.com, News from the Home Office is our readers' favorite column and has been for 28 years. It not only do we share, behind the scenes look at what it's like to run a publishing company and several websites, but we also share a lot of personal information about our family and our children and our grandchildren and what we do, day to day that's not involved in the business. And people love reading those stories because, we're funny. So today we're going to talk about how a cop became the managing editor of Writers Weekly and the operations manager at BookLocker.com. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Are you excited?
Yeah.
You nervous?
No, I'm okay. Hey, do you know what episode this is?
Episode 40.
This is 40.
Yeah.
We started this thing last year, and
Yeah.
we're still going.
Yeah, we're doing great. Getting lots and lots of hits on it.
I'm liking. Yeah, it's growing, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Before we start, this weekend, April 18th, 2026, at noon Central Time, is start time for the Spring 2026 Writers Weekly Short Story Contest. Go to 24hourshortstorycontest.com. Only 500 participants are permitted because we only have so much time to read all those entries and judge them. And first place is a free book publishing package from Book Locker, plus $300. Second place is $250. Third place is $200, and we have 100 honorable mentions. It's always at least 100. Sometimes we've got special recognition ones. All of those win a free book from Book Locker of their choice. So join us, 24hourshortstorycontest.com. You must sign up before 11:30 a.m. on Saturday, the 18th.
11:30 what time?
Central Time.
Okay.
Because start time is at noon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 11:30 Central Time.
Yeah, so join us. So let's get right into it here.
All right.
Brian, when did you know you wanted to be... Oh, and some of these questions are from our readers they sent in. I posted something on Facebook that you didn't see.
Oh, interesting.
And so we've got questions from some of our readers as well that are very curious about your life.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Whiddon, this is your life. When did you first know that you wanted to be a writer?
Wow. Honestly, I never really thought of being a writer. I have a book out, but that kind of, it literally came from the heart, so it wasn't like I'm always writing and hoping to get fame, fortune, and all that stuff. Now, I did write as a young teenager, but it was mostly a lot of dark stuff. I did a lot of poetry, but at that time I was going through a lot of things as a young kid. And there was a lot of depression in my life at the time. So the stuff gets pretty dark.
And you were having a hard time with making friends at school because...
Well, no, this was actually when I was in junior high, and I had friends, but there was other stuff going on in life, and things were just kind of tough. You are right. When I was younger, had trouble making friends and stuff. I was diagnosed early on, very early on, as hyperactive. Also was born with Tourette's syndrome. Now, it's nothing as an adult. It's almost all gone.
Yeah.
But as a kid, had a lot of horrible tics that were very, very noticeable, and kids can be absolutely brutal to somebody that's different. Probably from kindergarten on to about 7th grade was very difficult. Not only that, my parents sent me during those years to a private school and full of a bunch of rich kids. We weren't what I would call rich, because my dad was a young doctor, but there were 4 of us kids. So and he was a frugal man. He was not one of these that had a yacht and a pool in the backyard and country club memberships and all that stuff. He drove a Honda Accord forever.
Wow, good for him.
And quite often we heard, no, you can't have that.
Yeah.
No, we can't afford that. But he scraped and saved and held on to every penny he could to send us to get the best education we could. But rich kids can be even more brutal to people.
Sure.
A lot of them are very entitled and get a real rush of the power of making life hell on other kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of that stuff kind of stuck, even though I left that school in after 7th grade and went into the public school system, where I actually made a lot of friends and was doing very well socially. I can't say the same for my academic work, but yeah. So that was my writing, was a lot of poetry about how much life sucked.
Yeah.
That was really the only real writing that I did. I wasn't very good at journaling either. I'd write stuff for about a week and then I'd just put it down and I wouldn't get back to it.
But you did journal on occasion.
I did journal on occasion, but I never thought of myself as I'm going to be a writer someday. I just never really thought like that. I don't write fiction.
Yeah.
My book, Blue Lives Matter, The Heart Behind the Badge, are actual stories of my experiences as a police officer. And again, it came only when I got really, really sick of watching the Black Lives Matter movement and the anti-police movement back in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided I'm going to write a book to show people the human side of police officers, because all they're hearing is that cops are all just a bunch of horrible people beating up black people and we need to, get rid of all local cops. And that was just a very stupid idea.
That was never going to work.
And I thought, with all this negative publicity and negative press out there trying to convince everybody that cops are subhuman, I felt that people needed to understand that no, cops are very human. In fact, they're only human. That's all they are, human beings, but they're given responsibilities and authority. That's all.
And in this episode, I'm going to ask you about a couple of incidents that you talk about in your book that shows how human cops really are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that was me as a young person writing. That was the only real writing I did.
Now we're going to have to go back a little bit when you were hyperactive little kid.
Yeah, I was a handful.
Tell the kitchen table story.
Oh boy. So my mother tells a story. I really don't remember this, but my mother tells a story all the time that whenever we'd sit down for dinner, and we were one of those families that dinner was at a certain time and everybody sat at the table together and had dinner together.
Yeah.
And apparently I couldn't finish dinner without having to take a few bites, jump out of my seat, run some laps around the table, sit down, eat a little bit more, and then jump out of my seat and run laps around the table. So,
and that's why the table we have today is backed up against one wall.
well, the first couple times I jumped up and started running laps, Angie's like, we're not going to have that. I'm putting the table up against the wall so you can't complete a circuit.
He's kidding.
Am I?
I still see some of that hyperactivity in you.
Well,
It's adorable.
Yeah, I do. Well, nowadays they call it, I guess, ADD and stuff like that. But yeah,
I call it ambition.
Some days
Energy and ambition.
I wake up and I'll have a to-do list a mile long, and I'm like, I'm going to get it all done today. You watch, and I'll be completely exhausted by the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah. Well, my next question is.
What is your next question, Angela?
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
My phone, goes black after a few seconds. And I've got all my notes on my phone.
You just got to make it up.
At what age did you know you wanted to become a cop?
That would have been age 14, and there's a story behind that.
Okay, I know the story, but tell everybody it's
well,
very good.
I think this was probably the third time I had run away from home. I was 14 years old. I had a girlfriend at the time who was 17 years old and who was also a runaway. She had run away from Ohio, and I can't remember how, but she made it down to Florida.
How did you meet her?
In summer school.
So she actually attended summer school.
She was
as a runaway.
Yeah. Yeah, she was attending summer school.
She was taking care of herself. Wow.
She was being pretty responsible. She had a job. She worked at a Denny's restaurant. She was waiting tables, and she was living with some guy and his kid in his house, and I don't know, maybe there was more going on there than she told me, maybe not, I don't know, but so she had a place to live. And something had happened, and she left that house and had nowhere to stay. So she was staying in a motel, and I had a rift with my parents one night, and went out the door. So I stayed with her in that hotel for a few weeks, and at some point, she had made contact with her parents, and they drove down to Florida to come see her. And she spent a day with her parents and came back, and her parents left, and she told me, I'm going to go back to Ohio. So I guess they made up and whatever. And so
then you're a 14-year-old kid with a hotel room. And you had a job at the time, right?
I don't think I had a job at that time,
which
was weird because I always had a job of some sort. I may have been working at this one German restaurant, but I mean, when you're a 14-year-old making, washing dishes, you're not making enough money to pay a hotel.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And this was in the summer, so I wasn't even in school yet. So, who knows what was going to happen trying to go to school and all that stuff.
So she up and leaves, heads
so
back
she
to Ohio.
up and goes to Ohio. Her parents pick her up and they drive off to Ohio, which leaves me sitting on the street with nowhere to stay.
Yeah.
And I think things over. And now I had already called home one time during this period, and my dad answered the phone. And I asked to come home, and he basically said, well, you decided to leave, so I think it's best you just stay where you're at, and lots of luck.
It just blows my mind.
And, well, that was his, like I said, this wasn't the first time I ran away, and I think he just wanted to teach me life's tough out there.
Tough love, right?
Tough love. It's if you want to keep leaving the house, then you better figure out how you're going to make ends meet.
Yeah, right.
It was literally, you're going to stay here, you're going to stay under our rules, and that was the big problem I had, was following their rules.
Because you were a hellion.
I was a handful. So,
yeah.
I figure, I got nowhere else to go and no means of support and everything, so I went to what they called a pay phone back then.
A what?
Yeah, I know. We didn't have little devices in our pocket. You just pick up, dial anybody you want at any time. And I called 911 and, what's your emergency? I said, well, I'm a 14-year-old and I'm a runaway, but I don't want to be a runaway anymore, but my parents won't let me back. And so I don't really know what to do. And they said, okay, well, where are you? Stay where you are. We'll send somebody out there. Now, I had run-ins with the cops before. And, but, it was always them stopping to check me out and, see what me and my friends were up to, so there was always this air of distrust on the cops' parts. So I always saw cops as the bad guys, so I'm waiting around and up pulls this sheriff's car. And I said, oh boy, here we go. Well, this cop gets out, and, here I am, this little 14-year-old, and here's this big guy with the gun and the badge and all that stuff. And to this day, I remember his name was Richard Razkowski. And in the department, they called him Raz. That was his nickname.
Where did you first think he was going to take you?
Oh, I thought I was probably going to juvie or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I was, and I don't know why I sat around waiting for that, but there it was, and he comes and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I tell him my story, and he's like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. He says, I've already contacted another agency. It's, to help kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take you home, and they're going to meet us there. So they're going to kind of be the go-between you and your parents, and we're going to try to work things out.
That was probably Children's Protective Services.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it was
okay.
DYF or something like that. Yeah,
okay.
Anyway. And he's like, why don't you go ahead and hop in the back of my car? I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. I get in the back of the car, and the whole ride, he just talked to me. And for the first time, this was a cop treating me like a human being.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that had ever happened to me.
Yeah. And
he just, he really didn't even ask me much. I was just kind of talking. Mm-hmm. And he just kept telling me, you're a kid. I know things don't look good right now, but you're going to be okay. And no cop had ever told me that before.
Yeah.
And it was literally during that ride, I'm just sitting here thinking, I want to do this. I want to come into people's lives at their worst moment and tell them they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And help people. Mm-hmm. And that sent me down the path. I mean, in some ways, in other ways, I was still a hellion, but that was the point that changed. And
it really shows you how one adult can completely change somebody's life.
One encounter.
Right.
Yeah. And that always stayed with me as a police officer. Unfortunately, 2 years later, he was shot and killed. And believe it or not, it was from pulling in to check out some guy in the middle of the night standing by a payphone.
Wow.
And it turned out that this guy had just robbed somebody, and he still had his gun. Mm. And when Raz turned around to go radio in, he shot him in the back 3 times.
Wow.
So,
I bet he touched a lot of lives.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Good man.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just if you're willing to treat people that way, it's amazing the returns you'll get out of it. Yeah.
And it's so great that was your role model. That's what made you want to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
for a living.
It wasn't all the crazy heroic, getting in fights on the street and chases and stuff. It was just somebody that showed me a little, just a little concern.
Yeah.
That's all, and who knows, after he dropped me off at my parents' house and knocked on the door and, sent me on my way, he probably never thought of me again. But
I bet he did.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
Just hit that red button and it'll turn off. Sorry, folks, the air conditioner's coming on in our studio here.
It blows right on my microphone.
Yeah.
So, what happened to you when you turned 17?
Okay, so 17 years old, I'm still having some difficulties with my parents, and they told me, we can't live with you anymore. You have to leave.
Yeah.
So long story short, I found a really crappy, tiny little apartment. It was like one half of the downstairs of an old house.
Mm-hmm.
And it was roach infested, and literally you couldn't sit in the bathroom and put your arms out to either side of you. It was that small. It was more or less one room. I had a little kitchen, then a space for my bed, and then just on the other side of my bed was a place I could sit and watch TV, and then I had a bathroom that was separate from it, and that was it.
How did you make money to pay that rent?
I was working at that point for a TV repair place after school.
Were you repairing TVs?
I was actually delivering TVs, and I did antenna work. I would crawl up these 30 to 50 foot towers and set up. This was before internet and Wi-Fi and all this stuff,
Right.
and you actually had to have either you had cable, which was pumped directly into your house by the cable company, or you had to have an antenna.
Yeah.
And the higher up that antenna was, the better reception you got. So a lot of people purchased big, tall towers to put their antennas up, and it was my job to climb up there and hook up the antenna and hook the wires up and, run the wires down. And It was pretty cool at 17 years old. You're climbing 50 feet in the air and hanging off this tower with a belt. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds...
It was pretty cool.
I would never do that. For our listeners, Brian can pretty much fix anything.
I try.
Build anything or fix anything. He's the handiest person I've ever met.
Yeah.
So you're 17 years old. You're living on your own in that crappy little apartment, but you stay in school.
I continued school. I knew at that time that, I had to get that high school diploma or I wasn't going to be a cop.
Yeah.
So I stayed and graduated high school. And believe it or not, my relationship with my parents got a lot better. I mean, within months, when they saw that I didn't fail, that I wasn't a dirtbag, that I buckled down and did what was right, our relationship got a whole lot better. I think it was we just kept butting heads over what I wanted to do versus what they wanted me to do, and it just when I was suddenly faced with the reality that I have to feed myself, I have to get this education and get that diploma, and I have to pay rent, and I have to, do all these things. I buckled down.
Yeah. One of our adult kids was also highly spirited, let's put it that way, and lived with us after graduation and while in college. And then, getting ahead of myself, when we sold that house and moved on to a boat, there wasn't going to be enough bedrooms for him. And
if I recall, he wasn't very happy about that.
No, but I tell you what, within 2 weeks of him moving out, we stopped butting heads.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like our relationship completely changed.
Sometimes the best way to improve somebody is cut off all support.
Yeah.
And then let them learn for themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, and that's what happened. So graduated high school. So you graduated high school and you want to be a cop. So how do you do that? So from graduating high school until I turned 19, because 19 was the minimum age to be a cop, I was actually, the TV place wasn't going to be able to pay me enough to continue what I was doing. And they didn't have full-time work for me. So I went to work for one of these companies mowing lawns.
Oh, okay.
Sucked. I hated that job.
Especially in Florida.
Hated the people I had to work with. I'm sorry, but man, it's just some of the just the dumbest people. But that was, I'm telling you, and if you're somebody that has a lawn business, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you dumb. I'm talking about the people that worked for the guy that owned the business.
Well, and we all have worked in jobs where we worked with dumb people.
Well, when you work in minimum wage, you're going to work with minimum wage people. So anyway, I waited until I was 19. When I was 19, I put in my applications, and back then you had to get hired by a police department or sheriff's office, and they would send you to the police academy. It all changed when I came back, and I'll tell about that later. Anyway, it was no. And what they kept telling me was, yeah, we know you're 19, but we don't just hire 19-year-olds and put a badge and a gun on them. We want you to have a little more life experience and stuff. I think they just remembered my reputation in town because it was all local agencies.
Sure, they all knew.
Yeah,
it wasn't that big of a town.
Maybe if I applied somewhere across the state, maybe I'd have it. But yeah, so nobody was hiring me. So, what happened was one night I was just not sleeping, and I got on my motorcycle and went out I lived in a beach town, so I went to one of the little boardwalks right near the ocean there. And I was just sitting around thinking, what the hell am I going to do with my life, And a cop pulls up.
Of course.
To check me out.
He probably knew who you were too.
And he's like, so what are you doing out here at 2 a.m? I'm like, I am just trying to figure my life out. And I think that convinced him. And he's like, okay, fine, sounds good. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I need to know something. I said, how did you become a cop? I'm 19 years old. I'm trying to become a cop, and nobody will hire me. And he said, oh, well, yeah, when I turned 18, I joined the Air Force, and I spent 3 years there. When I got out, I was able to say that I had all kinds of experience, and he was an MP in the Air Force, which I know for Air Force, it's something like SP or something. But anyway, he was a military policeman in the Air Force. And he said, you really ought to try that, just go in the military. It's a few years out of your life, and, you come back and you got all that you can say you're a veteran and you have experience and da-da-da. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Now, I had absolutely zero interest in being in the military when I was that age.
Hold on. Was your dad in the military?
My dad was a lieutenant commander in the Navy. I had an uncle who was a lieutenant in Vietnam. My grandfather had been to the name escapes me, but he was in the Army in World War II, but he was in the Philippines.
Okay.
Gosh, I wish I could remember that name. Anyway, but he fought in the Philippines. And so, I mean, I've just got,
and your brother,
a great grandfather was in World War I.
Yeah.
My brother was already in West Point at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
In my life. So yeah, so I had military all through my family, but I didn't want to. But I go to the Air Force recruiter, and they ask me a bunch of questions, and I answer them all honestly. And they said, yeah, we can't use you, sorry. So right down the hall was an Army recruiter. So I went in there, and I didn't answer their questions quite so honestly. And they said, gee, we could sure use a guy like you. Welcome to the Army. And so, and by the way, now 4 years was minimum sign up at this point. This was in 1989. And they said, hey, not only can we use you, if you sign up for an extra year, we'll give you $1,500. And I said, wow, what's another year for $1,500? That was the dumbest thing I'd ever done at that point in my life. So I signed up for 5 years with the U.S. Army and did every last one of them. So yeah, and that so that actually started my law enforcement career because I became a military policeman.
That's an MP.
Yep.
For those who don't know. Yeah. So where did you go to basic training?
Fort McClellan, Alabama, and that was in July of 1989.
And you melted the whole summer.
And those of you who live in Alabama, you know what July in Alabama means.
The heat and humidity and the uniforms and
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it sucked.
And how long were you there?
I think basic training and AIT were like 4 months. And then after that, my very first duty station was South Korea.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Did I skip something?
No, Talk about the food in South Korea, because that's the most interesting part of your South Korean stories.
Well, I liked the food in South Korea, and if you look around online, you can find several things on South Korean cuisine. They use a lot of rice and eggs and vegetables and stuff like that. Some pretty good stuff. However, when you're in Korea, you got to be kind of careful. I got a couple of stories here.
Okay.
First of all, if you decide to order beef sticks from a street vendor,
that sounds yummy.
chances are it's not that beef didn't come from a cow.
Where'd it come from?
Here's another story to illustrate that.
Oh, boy.
Me and one of the Korean soldiers that I became friends with were walking around Seoul, and I come across this little storefront with big windows, and there's puppies in there. I'm like, oh, cool. Look at the puppies. It's a pet shop. Let's go in. He's like, well, no. He's like, no pet shop. I'm like, what do you mean no pet shop? He's like, it's a butcher shop.
Oh, my gosh. It was a doggy grocery store.
And when you purchase beef sticks from a street vendor, it's dog.
You know, I said yummy earlier, but it wasn't
all that bad.
Oh, man.
Because you've already had a few beef sticks before somebody tells you that joke.
Ugh.
So, let's see. They had giant roasted cockroaches that you could eat. Yeah.
Did you eat those?
No, I never touched the roaches.
Okay, good.
Because you can see and tell what those are. Because they put them in a big wok, and they're just stirring these things around, and they look like roaches.
I imagine you did a lot of floss after eating something like
Ooh,
that.
buddy. Okay, so what was the other story I was going to tell? Wait a minute.
I was getting hungry, but now I'm not.
Oh, so you go into a bar, right? Mm-hmm. An MP goes into a bar. You sit down for a beer, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in America, you sit down in a little hole-in-the-wall bar, and you're probably going to get a little bowl of peanuts, maybe some pretzels, something to munch on to keep you thirsty, right? Mm-hmm. In Korea, they hand you this little bowl that's split three ways, and in one of the little compartments of the bowl are whole dried minnows.
Like freeze-dried?
Like freeze-dried minnows, like heads on, eyes looking at you.
Scales?
And they don't scale those things.
The whole thing? Yeah. Tail, everything?
You just pop the whole thing in your mouth and chew.
Oh, that sounds disgusting.
Very, very salty. Next to that is these little chewy, tiny little slivers of squid.
That sounds better.
And that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
well, we like calamari. But this is just basically roasted squid. I actually watched a street vendor do it on the street. Actually, take a live squid out of a bucket and throw it on this hibachi and watch that thing shrivel up, and it was really weird. Anyway, interesting. And then the third little compartment has So if you've ever had sushi. Mm-hmm. And it's wrapped in that super, super thin seaweed wrap.
Right, the green stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what this is, but it's cut into little squares, about 1 inch by 1 inch squares. And you just put this on your tongue and it'll melt.
You can buy at Chinese grocery stores. Yes. You can buy bags of, in fact, even main grocery stores in the Asian section.
Sushi wrap.
Yeah, you can buy it. It's all dried and you eat it like potato chips.
Yeah. So I'd go into these bars and I'd have my little dried fish and squid and seaweed and my OB beer. OB is like Budweiser of Korea.
Now, could you back to the seaweed? Could you wrap up the fish and the squid in it?
No, there's a 1 inch by 1 inch.
Make your own little bitty roll.
Miniature taco. Nope. You just had to bite the bullet and eat that fish. Yeah. It actually, after about the fifth or sixth one, beer, they taste pretty good.
Disgusting. So you're working as an MP for the Army now in Korea. So after Korea, how long were you in Korea?
I was there for a year, and I was in Seoul. Mm-hmm. So I was in the big city, and I got to do a lot of patrol work. Yeah. Actual law enforcement work. If I had gotten stationed up at the DMZ, I'd have been doing a lot of field work, which is not really police work.
Yeah.
And we did town patrol, which you go into, you get off the post and you go into the little area that is all the American soldiers hang out and get drunk at. And I got to deal with a lot of drunk soldiers and, a lot of fun. So next post, the Army screwed me. They sent me to a place in the middle of the Sierra Nevada desert, that didn't exist. that they stored nuclear weapons at.
Yeah.
And I'd spend 12 hours a day standing post mostly standing post. Actually, my platoon was specifically assigned to escorting people through that area because you've always got workers. You got civilian contractors. You got people that have to repair stuff. You got people that are testing equipment, stuff like that. So I would spend 12 hours a day going out and watching these people, do what they do and make sure they didn't do what they weren't supposed to do. But that's a bad job. I mean, it just sucks.
I think we skipped a pretty important part.
Oh, what?
You married your high school sweetheart.
I married my high school sweetheart.
At what age were you?
I actually came back from Korea halfway through my tour and married her. So that was 1990.
Okay.
So yeah. And we had been dating since I was 16. I met her when I was 16. She was 15.
Wow. And,
and then I left for the Army and came back and married her. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're at the nuke facility, is she with you at that point?
She was, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We went together, and first we lived off post because there was no on post housing, especially for an E3.
Yeah.
I was private first class, and if you weren't like an NCO, there was just no housing for you. You had to wait a while. We lived we rented a farmhouse about 20 miles from post.
That sounds nice.
And yeah, it was pretty cool. That place got cold in the winter.
Oh, I bet.
The first winter I was there, it dropped 25 below zero, and the snow was up to your knees. Ugh. Now, of course, I understand you people from like Boston and Montana and all that. It's nothing to
funny,
you,
right?
I know, but from a Florida boy,
yeah, right.
Man, that was rough. So yeah, but we eventually did get on post housing and had a little duplex that we stayed on post. So not awful bad. And in like the last, I think 6 months of my stay there, I was made the unit armorer. So I actually got to run the arms room and handle all the guns going in and out and ammo that was going in and out and fixing guns and all that stuff.
That sounds a lot better than standing on post and the heat and the snow and everything.
That was a little better, yeah.
So then you got your next assignment, and did they just decide, we don't need you here anymore, we need you here there instead? Or
well, no, it's just every couple of years you wind up with orders,
okay.
and they send you somewhere else. I think I didn't know too many guys that stayed in one place for several years. There were a couple, and I think you basically have to put in requests to not be ordered somewhere else. I don't know, and if you're doing really good, I guess they let you stay where you're at. But anyway. I got assigned to Fort Carson, Colorado, and I loved Colorado.
Oh, it's
Colorado was
there.
Great.
Yeah.
Boy, I did some hiking. I really wanted to do rock climbing, but never got the chance to do that. Or I didn't take advantage of any chances to do that. Anyway, 4th Infantry Division, I became. I get there, and the unit armorer was just leaving.
Oh. How convenient.
And the first sergeant's like, I see here you were the unit armorer in your last unit. I said, yes, I was. And he said, guess what we need? I said, oh, boy. They did let me go on road patrol occasionally, though. So I got to actually do law enforcement work there, too.
Oh, okay.
But my main job was working that arms room.
Okay.
In 1993, which was 1 year before I was supposed to leave the Army, President George W. Bush, the
George
younger
1 or
one,
George 2?
George 2,
okay.
Decided we need to go help a little country in Africa called Somalia. Mm-hmm. And if you've been watching the news at all nowadays, you're hearing a lot about people from Somalia and what they're like.
And
in Minnesota.
Yep, exactly.
So we go there because supposedly there's a bunch of starving kids and they're being robbed of their UN food by a bunch of really bad bandits and warlords and all this stuff. And so I wind up in Somalia in 1993, Operation Restore Hope.
Yeah.
Let's see. You want a bad story and a good story from there? You got questions?
You need to tell the camel dust story.
Camel dust. Oh.
This is my favorite story.
Okay. So we were in this it wasn't really a village, it was a town, a small town. Now you got to picture a town in Somalia at that time. There's no electricity, there's no running water. It gets very dark at night.
I bet.
We had a compound that we took over from a bunch of squatters. It was an old governor's palace, about a 3-story building, and our job was to patrol. It was a radius of about 20 miles around this town and the surrounding villages, and basically we were out hunting these they called them clan members, or basically they were armed gangs, and they figured out how to mount big machine guns on the back of pickup trucks, and they would just run around robbing anyone they could, or just terrorizing people.
And these are the same people that are stealing food when the UN
and these
drops
are the people,
it off.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're cruising around looking for these guys, and there was this one village that we would go through on a regular basis, and there was a crossroads there, four-way dirt crossroads. Yeah. And at some point, a camel had died right smack in the middle of those crossroads. Now, I don't understand it, but somebody explained to me that there is some kind of custom in Somalia when a camel... Now, I don't know if it was a custom or just nobody wanted to do it, but they don't move dead camels. Once they die, they stay right where they're at. Mm-hmm. So for many weeks, we drove around this camel. Mm-hmm. But of course, once something starts to decompose in the hot, hot sun, it starts shrinking down. And so more and more, we and Somalis with cars were running over the camel. Mm-hmm. And it just got crushed.
Flattening it
just flattening more and more, and grinding it into this dust to where every time we would drive through this area, of course, Humvees kick up dust like you wouldn't believe. The first guy in the head vehicle was usually okay, but the second guy and the third guy and the fourth guy and the fifth guy who were up in those turrets had to breathe this crap that's flying up in the air, and you could smell.
I bet you could taste it, too.
You could smell and taste dead camel every time you drove through. And I was a gunner, so I was up in that turret, and it was, very common that I would carry like 2 bandanas, and when I knew we were going into this village, I'd put my bandanas around my face so that I wouldn't breathe this crap in.
I'm sitting here thinking, I think I would prefer freeze-dried minnow over camel dust.
See, it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so that's the camel story. One thing, so we had our share of little armed scuffles here and there. We never had big firefights. That whole Black Hawk Down thing, that was the Rangers and Delta Force, and that was kind of a one-off. You didn't have too many of those big battles like that, especially MPs. Now, the infantry guys, more than we did. But we'd usually have somebody take a few pot shots at us. We'd return fire while hauling ass and just getting out of the kill zone, and then that would be that. If we came back looking for them, you couldn't find them anyway. They took off too. But one incident does stick with me, and it has nothing to do with gunfire. We were cruising along down the road. Now, in Somalia, it's a very poor country, and everybody has to walk everywhere they go or ride donkey carts or something.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a car, you're pretty popular in Somalia. So anybody who has a car can charge people to get a ride wherever they're going, right? Mm-hmm. Now, there are no laws there because there is no government there.
Right.
So there's no traffic laws. There's nothing saying that you have to have babies in a baby seat. There's nothing saying you have to wear a seatbelt. And there's nothing saying that you could pile as many people inside and on top of your car as you can possibly get on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing to see a car driving down the street with no windshield and every seat is filled, and then there'd be two people sitting backwards in the windshield with their ass on the hood, and then maybe a couple people sitting on the trunk and, driving 30, 40 miles an hour, with all these people. And we were behind a pickup truck. And if you had a pickup truck, same thing. You piled as many people as you could in that thing. And some of these pickup trucks had like canopy rails up over the bed. So people would be sitting on top of those too.
But that was a fun ride.
Well, so we're cruising along behind this truck. There's 3 Humvees in our team, and I'm in the lead Humvee. I was actually our lieutenant's gunner, so I was kind of usually up front. And we're watching. There had to have been 25 people on this truck, just piled on top of it, and it blew a tire. And I watch as this truck first turns on its side and then starts flipping, and it's just throwing people. People are getting caught under this thing as it's rolling around. And it's a mess. And once this thing comes to rest and there's just, people laying all over the place, we of course come to a screeching halt and grab medical kits and, whatever we had and start trying to treat people. And we're grabbing, each one of our Humvees had a stretcher. So we pull stretchers out and we're putting whoever's not dead, we're putting on stretchers and trying to, and we get on the radio and we start hollering for, hey, send medevac choppers to our location. We give them our grid coordinates, and, we have multiple, Somali citizens or civilians who are, in really bad shape. And we wait like 10 minutes for them to come back, tell us that they're sending helicopters, right? And instead they tell us this is not a military matter. Those are civilians, so we're not sending you any helicopters, and you need to continue on with your mission.
Unbelievable. And
that really gave me a very bad taste in my mouth I mean, I understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
Our helicopters are for us. But these people had nothing. Yeah. There was no EMS service. There was no ambulance going to come pick people. There weren't any hospitals.
Yeah.
For the most part. Mogadishu had some. But you didn't have hospitals and stuff. You certainly didn't have a bunch of people riding around in a vehicle to pick up hurt people and get them to that hospital.
Yeah.
So we had to drive off, leaving these people out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Dead, dying, crippled.
Suffering. Yeah.
They didn't have cell phones back then, so nobody's calling their relatives, hey, come get me. Okay, let's see. Good story. So like I said, we lived in a 3-story old governor's mansion that had been bombed out and stuff. And the roof, the very top roof was flat, so we could get up there. And me and my 2 best friends, Brian and Brian, we were the 3 Brians. We would go up there and read letters from home, and just talk about what we're going to do when we get back, and tell jokes.
Didn't you have nicknames?
Okay, yes. Not only were we the 3 Brians, we called ourselves the 3 Amigos. And we each had a nickname. Brian Cooley called himself Paco. Brian Casney called himself Jefe. It might be reversed, but it doesn't matter. Y'all don't know these people. My name, and I didn't get to pick my name. My name got picked for me. For those of you who have not seen pictures of me, I'm kind of pasty white.
Brian is the whitest person I've ever met.
Almost ghost-like.
Even his white hair.
And so my nickname got to be El Bino. So we'd sit up there, Paco, Jefe, and El Bino, talking and stuff. Now, at some point, we started taking fire from inside our compound. And the reason it came from inside our compound was that our commander selected this compound because of a nice big wall that had all the way around it separating us from the streets. That did not stop people from driving by and lobbing grenades over our wall occasionally.
Did you have electricity in the compound?
We had, well, from generators, yes. We had big trailer towed generators. So we had electricity in the compound. However, this land bumped up across to a river. And there was about 200 yards of riverbank that did not have a big wall on it.
Okay.
Now, we put some barbed wire and stuff down there, and every night we had like a couple of roving patrols on foot. But you couldn't constantly watch that thing. And what the Somalis figured out, the bad guys figured out, they can use a raft and swim over a bunch of guns and ammo in the middle of the night, sneak onto our compound, hide those things, because the compound didn't look like what you would see in like Iraq and stuff like that. It was almost like jungle.
Okay.
So a big part of this, because it was a governor's mansion, they had botanical gardens in there.
Wow.
So they could get in amongst all these bushes and big leafy plants and all that, and we wouldn't see them, and they'd store these guns, and they'd come back when they're ready. All they had to do was swim across and then go to where they hid their guns, pick them up, and start shooting at us. Okay. So because of that, because we were only one company of MPs, the higher-ups decided they were going to send us a platoon of Marines to help us out. And a platoon of Marines is a very impressive unit. Unlike an Army MP unit, basically the biggest things we had were our Mark 19 fully automatic grenade launchers. Other than that, it was just Humvees, M60 machine guns, and rifles, right? These guys show up, and they're in Amtraks, which are these giant armored tracked vehicles, not quite a tank. Basically armored personnel carriers. These guys have mortars. They have heavy machine guns, like 50 calibers and stuff. And they also came with their own air support in the form of Cobra helicopters.
Cool.
And I'm like, all this for a platoon. I should have joined the Marines. Man, these guys got it going on. And so here's the problem when you get a bunch of Marines and their helicopters in your compound with you is those guys in those helicopters really enjoyed messing with us. So, when a helicopter flies over, normally it's, boom, 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 the rotors. But these guys would come right over our compound, and then they'd take a real tight turn, and then they'd pitch their rotors down real hard. So it goes from thump, 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 thump to bump, 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 as loud as you can imagine, as he's making this turn, and that thing's just beating the air. And now, during the day, we don't care.
Yeah.
But in the middle of the night, when you're either trying to sleep or you're trying to sit up on the roof and chat about home and your wives and read letters, it tends to get kind of annoying.
It's an understatement.
Me and the other two amigos one night, after one pass of this helicopter, decided we had enough of this. And the next pass that helicopter did, we all stood up and we dropped our drawers and gave him the moon because we knew that pilot had night vision on. And we felt it probably wise to, once we got our pants back up, to go ahead and leave that roof.
Yeah.
And just as we're heading to now, as we're getting closer to the stairwell to go down the roof, and the Marines all were on the floor just below this. We're hearing all kinds of crazy chatter on their radios, and none of them were out on patrols or anything. So we're like, oh, something's going on. Well, so up runs some Marine, and he's like, hey, were you guys up on the roof? And we're like, well, yeah. And he's like, was there anybody else up there? Well, yeah, I think there's a couple other guys up there. Yeah, what's up? Well, there's that helicopter's flying up there. That's a colonel up there, and he said 3 guys just mooned him. We're like, there's 3 other guys, and they are troublemakers, and I think they're over on that northeast corner of the roof. You better go check them out. And there's just the kind of guys that would do that kind of thing, and we run downstairs and disappear into our unit. So the three mooning amigos. Apparently that pilot was pissed off.
I imagine.
And hopefully he got the message. Stop buzzing us like that. Yeah.
So you spent a year in Somalia?
Yes. No. About 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So your time is up.
Mm-hmm.
You get out of the Army.
Yep.
And then finally you can start applying for cop jobs.
So at this point, no. At this point, they had changed the whole system. There was no longer police department in Florida. Mm-hmm. It was no longer police department hires you and sends you to the academy. Now you got to pay your own way through the academy. They had too many cops that got hired, went to the academy, and either didn't get through it or would only spend maybe a year with that department and then move on somewhere else. And you figure all the money they spent to send somebody to an academy and train somebody, now they got to go find somebody else and send them. So I had to pay my own way.
Okay.
And I actually wound up going to Indian River Community College, and I went to what they called a part-time police academy class. Yeah. Instead of going there first of all, there were no barracks. There wasn't, a residential thing. And instead of coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning and being there until 6 o'clock at night, it was night school.
Yeah.
So I was able to work full time during the day, and then I would go there from about 6 p.m. till I'd say about 10 or 11 p.m. Every night of the week except weekends. And I worked at a restaurant as a waiter, and I'll never do that again. If I have to eat out of garbage cans, I will never be a waiter again. I have so much respect for wait staff at restaurants and what they have to go through with stupid customers.
Sure, yeah.
But anyway, 6 months of that, and I graduated I graduated second in my class academically. Mm-hmm. And when I graduated, I got the top shooter award of my class. I was the best shooter of all. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The academy students there. So
you worked the armory on 2 bases.
Yes.
First in your class for shooting.
Yes.
And later, you became an NRA firearms instructor.
Yeah.
Years after that, and while you were a cop, you were training other cops to shoot.
Yeah, I became a firearms instructor, also a field training officer. I also became a traffic homicide investigator. But I love, I love shooting, and I became. In fact, I taught at the police academy for a while. Yeah. So I was teaching new recruits how to shoot. So,
and you're in charge of security at our church, and you take your security team to the local
volunteer work. Yep.
Yeah, to the local.
I teach my security team how to shoot
at the
police
range. The police range. Yeah. Yeah. And we have a range in our backyard.
Yeah. So
neighbors love it.
Oh yeah. Especially when we blow up tannerite, but that's another story. Okay.
So you get through the academy.
Got through the academy.
And then
I got picked up by the Kissimmee Police Department. Now, I had shotgunned about 7 or 8 applications out all over Florida, to some, Miami and Tampa and Orlando, I think. But Kissimmee was the first to come back and say, hey, we'd like to hire you. So I was in a hurry to be a cop. I think if I had waited a little longer, some of these other departments would have gotten a hold of me, and I could have been in a much bigger and better department. But anyway,
you were young.
Kissimmee wasn't too awful bad. It was a department of about 100 officers, sworn officers. I think the city itself had about 200,000 people in it.
Personal question.
Yes.
Which wife are you on now?
Still the first one.
Still first
one?
Yeah,
still the first one. She was with me through most of Kissimmee.
Okay.
So I started on road patrol, and I don't know, what, you want any stories from that, or?
You got to tell the airplane story.
The airplane
story. Now,
story.
this story is in Brian's book in much more detail.
Yeah.
But this is a fantastic heroic story. So go ahead.
Well, to me, it was a fantastic, traumatic story.
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't really see myself as much of a hero here,
No.
but so I signed up for an off-duty security detail for an air show we had at the Kissimmee Municipal Airport. And at that air show, they had the Red Baron Pizza stunt plane team.
Mm-hmm.
It was a team of 4 planes, and they were doing all kinds of aerobatic stuff. And I was assigned to guard a room in the airport building, basically the FBO, I think, where they were counting money. So all the money that was coming in from the gates and concessions and stuff, these people were counting it, and my job was to make sure nobody came in there and robbed them. So I'm standing out and watching these planes do their thing. Now, it was a very windy day that day. I was actually surprised that they had stunt planes up doing stuff. To me, it seemed like it was too windy.
Yeah.
Well, so these planes were doing this one trick where they basically come along the runway at very, very low altitude, and then they all, they're in formation, and then they all shoot straight up into the air, and they're climbing. And I'm watching, and one of those planes shifted just like, gosh, it couldn't have been 6 inches to a foot to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And it got tangled up with another one of those planes.
Mm-mm.
And each of those planes' propellers started kind of chopping up the other plane. And, of course, the upward motion stopped, and those 2 planes were locked together, and they start coming down. And what's amazing is it seemed to take forever. I mean, it was like they were coming down slow, and they were twisting. They were rotating around each other. The best way I can describe it is if you ever seen 2 people doing, I think it's the tango, and they're holding each other, but they're spinning like the teacups at Disney World, and they're throwing their heads back and forth to see where they're going while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it was like that. It was like some kind of pirouette in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually thinking any minute they're going to break apart, and somehow they're going to recover those planes and get them down real quick. It might be a hard landing, but I just something in me is like, they got to be able to get out of this. Come on, these guys know what they're doing. And then they hit the ground, and I immediately just stick my head in that door. I said, lock every door in this place. We just had 2 planes crash, and I'm going.
Yeah.
Me and one other officer happened to be inside the fence line.
Parked inside the
parked
fence line?
inside the fence line. Everybody else's vehicles, they were working like the entrance gates and stuff like that, just doing general security outside the fence. So he and I jump into my car, and in my rearview mirror, I see his car coming too. So he clearly did exactly what I did, just left whatever he was supposed to do and jumped in his car. I mean, we didn't even think.
And was like a big fireball on the runway or something?
No.
Or was it in a field or what?
No, it was at the end of the runway.
Okay.
So it was still on airport property. No, there wasn't like a big fireball like in the movies. It was a sickening thud.
Okay.
And it wasn't even that loud. It was just this boom. And then you start seeing smoke. So I knew there was fire.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't some gigantic explosion like you see on the movies and stuff like that. So we're hauling ass over there, lights and sirens and everything. I mean, it's a runway. We can step on it, and whatever speed we can get those Crown Vics up to is how fast we were going. Crown Victoria, that was the car.
What you
meant. We get there, and we really quickly survey the damage. I mean, it was just twisted metal all over, just flames everywhere. Well, we spot one of the pilots, and he's still strapped in his chair, and he's out.
Yeah.
He's not flailing around or anything. So well, we run in there and try to grab him, And we spent about 3 seconds and had to run back because the heat was so bad.
And he was in that.
And we ran back in there and tried to grab him again, and we had to run back. We realized, he's strapped in. Let's try cutting those straps out off of him. So we run back in there and start trying to cut. We had to run. I mean, we did this like 5 times. And in the meantime, we're starting to hear the fire trucks rolling in. I think they were outside the fence line too, so they had to be let in. Well, I suddenly remembered in the trunk of my car, I carried like a big collapsible 2-gallon water jug that I just carried water with me all the time so I could just keep filling my cup with water. I was very health conscious back then. Yeah. I didn't want to have to keep stopping at stores or restaurants and fill my water. So I would just pull over the side of the road, fill my cup, and keep going. And I said, hold on, let me go get my water thing. And I grabbed this water jug, just take the lid off, and I run up there and just start scattering it around. Now, I found out later you're not supposed to do that because with aircraft that's burning, apparently there's magnesium in their frames. And if that magnesium is actually on fire and you throw water on it, I guess it explodes.
So you just put the water where you and your buddy were running up to try to help the guy.
I scattered the water along the path we're running and then around the pilot so that it would just knock the flames down just enough so that the other officer could get in there and cut those straps away from him. And he did, and we just each grabbed a shoulder and we burned our hands on his suit and dragged him out of there, right? Yeah. And just at that moment, the fire trucks and ambulance are all rolling up, and they just grabbed him and threw him on a gurney and threw him in the ambulance and headed to the hospital. I don't know if he was alive at the time. I do remember looking, and what really bothered me, and it sticks with me to this day, was I was watching him roasting over those flames. Oh, yeah. Because he was suspended. He wasn't laying on the ground. He was still strapped into his seat, and his seat was kind of still connected to the frame of the aircraft. He was about maybe a foot off the ground, but there were flames all around him. And I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, and it's just horrifying to think of being trapped like that. Yeah. Just roasting. And that's why we kept going in to try to get him out. I couldn't stand to see it. Yeah, right. Well, firemen looked us up and down. They said, you guys need to go to the hospital. You guys look like lobsters. Yeah, and apparently we got all burnt up, running in and out of there and stuff.
God bless you.
So they took us to the hospital and
did he survive?
No. I think he was dead on arrival at the hospital. Like I said, I don't know if he was alive when we were trying to help him, but I can imagine how nobody could survive being in that fire like that for any length of time.
I know that his family appreciated you pulling him out.
I suppose.
So that it sounds morbid, but they were going to be able to identify him at the hospital.
Well, yeah, we couldn't even find the other pilot.
Right, yeah.
He was so buried in that rubble or that wreckage. We never saw him. Yeah. So, I guess they had to. Well, anyway, yeah.
And then you got in trouble.
Well, interesting point of that. I had been on the department at this point for a few years and had a couple of run-ins with some of the higher ups there that wear brass on their collars, and some of them had taken it very personally that I would not just obey blindly, I guess, whatever.
You did what was right, even when they told you to do something that wasn't quite right, right?
Sort of. I'm kind of a straight talker, and some people don't really appreciate straight talkers. So,
listeners, that's one of the first things Brian told me when he met me. He said, "I always say what I mean." I don't hold back. I always say what I mean, and I find that very refreshing because
sometimes when you're talking to a person in power, they really don't appreciate that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So,
but I always appreciate your honesty because I never have to worry about what you're thinking about because you always let me know.
I always let you know.
Yeah, but in a very professional way.
Well, there's that. Yeah. So the deputy chief of this department, the second in command, wants to discipline me for unnecessarily putting my life at risk.
Did they do it to the other guy too?
They were going to do both of us.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But they wanted me. I know this was aimed directly at me. Yeah. Well, he was going to look really stupid if he did that because at the same time, the city commission had put together 2 awards of heroism for me and that other officer.
Awesome.
For trying to save the life of this pilot.
Yeah.
And we were presented that at a city commission meeting in front of a full room. And so yeah, the deputy chief didn't get his little revenge on me that time. Because he was going to look really dumb going against what the city commission wanted.
Sure.
So there's that story.
There are many stories in Brian's book, Blue Lives Matter, The Heart Behind the Badge. If you go to WritersWeekly.com and click on the Contact Us button, we will send you a free copy of the ebook.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can read all the stories. Now, briefly, because we don't have much time, I want you to tell people, and this story is in detail in the book, briefly tell everybody how you lost your entire cop career that you dreamed about since you were 14 years old.
Okay, so I had moved on. I got out of Kissimmee Police Department in 1999 and got out of law enforcement for a couple of years, worked in the trucking industry, and then I went back into law enforcement, and I was working in this little town in central Florida in Polk County. And much smaller than Kissimmee. I think at night we had like 2, maybe 3 officers on patrol. Okay, so we had this one officer in that department that was very unpopular among all other officers. He was that guy that would go out and talk real tough to people, but as soon as somebody got angry back at him, it was immediately reach for the taser or the pepper spray and just, hose somebody down instead of, he never really seemed to know how to just talk to people. And he certainly didn't know how to fight people.
He was just a jerk.
He was a jerk. He was a bully.
Yeah.
Don't want to use his real name because I don't want to get sued. But let's call him Dickie Booger.
I like that.
That's very close to to what his name would have been. So,
Dickie Booger.
Dickie Booger. Yeah. Well,
Officer Booger to you.
Officer Booger. Yeah. well, Dickie. One night we were our canine officer had stopped a car in one of the predominantly black neighborhoods and wanted to search it for drugs. And the common procedure is if you want to search a car, you call other officers there to basically watch around you while you're sticking your head under the dashboard and stuff because you can't watch your own back when you're trying to search a car. So I respond, Dickie responds, and one other officer responds. So, we show up and the canine officer starts searching the car. Well, a crowd starts to form, which is not uncommon. I came from a big city, and I was very used to when we went into the projects and had to deal with stuff. You got crowds in those neighborhoods. Yeah, it's kind of I dare say a cultural thing that,
and they can get unruly.
But usually it's just
jeering.
Folks jeering at you, making fun of you, hollering out jokes and stuff, or just laughing at you and stuff. It's not like a riot.
Yeah, right.
And you got to have a thick skin as a cop. And in Kissimmee, I learned to have a thick skin. You just ignore them. I'm there to do this job. I'm not there to deal with you and your silly little jokes and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, Dickie Booger didn't like the fact that he was being jeered at and laughed at and made fun of.
By one person in
apparently
particular.
There was one kid in there who was being a little more mouthy than the rest of them.
Yeah.
And Dickie decides to just run right into this crowd and confront this kid and demand to see his ID. And the kid's like, I think he was about 20 maybe.
Okay.
He's like, well, I don't have an ID. And you don't have to have an ID. This is America.
Right.
Well, Dickie demands to know his name, and the kid gives him this name that's clearly not a real name, And again, in America, when you're not being lawfully detained by a police officer for breaking a law or doing something that's dangerous or suspicious,
right,
you don't have to give your real name. You don't have to tell them anything. And you can give them whatever name I can sit there and tell an officer who walks up to me and said, I want your name. And if I'm not being detained, I could tell you, yeah, my name's John Smith, and go screw yourself.
Yeah, right.
And it's legal because you're not under official investigation for committing a crime.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and if Dickie had any right whatsoever to arrest this kid, he would have done it right there and then.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't arrest this kid because there's a lot of witnesses there.
Right.
Well, the next night we come in, and during briefing, Dickie tells us all, I need you to keep an eye out for this black kid. And if you see him, I want you to stop him and ask him his name. If he tells you his name is this, I think he said his name was Ray Gray. Yeah, Ray Gray. If he says his name is Ray Gray, then you need to call me out there right away. And
well,
I knew
he's just setting him up.
I knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it was a conspiracy.
And I'm like, I'm not going to be involved in any of that crap.
Right.
Well, so I happened to be in that neighborhood later that evening, about 10 o'clock, and I have my car parked on the side of the road, and I'm at a little intersection, and I got my corner lights on, got my interior light on. I'm working on a report on my computer. Nothing going on. Mm-hmm. I happen to notice a guy walking towards me up a street, and again, my car is parked off the side of the road, but it's the corner lights on clearly says police on it,
right,
and it's got lights on top of it. This guy obviously knows there's a cop right here, right?
And he's not concerned.
He walks up to where I am, and then hooks a left and starts walking down a street. Hooks a right and walking down a street towards another, block. And we were 1 block away from a Dollar General store that was closed. So as he gets to the next intersection, up rolls one of our units, and they call out, I'm checking out a black male on this street and this street. And within 2 minutes, now I just stay there because I'm close enough to help that officer if I need to run over there and help him.
Yeah.
But he's just checking this guy out, and I know the guy didn't do anything wrong. Right. So I'm like, he's going to check him out and be done with this in a few minutes, and nothing's going to come out.
So you're just working on your report and you're observing what's happening
but I'm watching
across the
what's
street.
Happening.
Okay, all right.
Well, within about 2 minutes, he's calling Dickie over, and I'm like, that's interesting. And then next thing you know, Dickie shows up, and they're calling over the radio for a check on Ray Gray.
Ray Gray.
And I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, nothing comes back on a Ray Gray, and they stand there talking to this guy for about 10 more minutes, and then they're calling out that they're arresting this dude.
For what?
And I'm like, exactly.
Jeez.
And I'm like, what the hell are they arresting him for? I mean, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe they patted him down and found some drugs. Yeah. Maybe, whatever. I'm just assuming that somehow they tripped over something that they could arrest him for, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the next night, curiosity got to me, and I go into records and I pull the report that they wrote on this arrest. And it tells this story of this young man sneaking around late at night and acting suspiciously right near a closed business, and they were afraid he was about to break in. So they, that first officer checked him out, and then he gave him a fake name when they were investigating a potential crime.
And he clearly wasn't going to break in that Dollar General. He was just walking over something in front of a police car.
He was a block away from that Dollar General with a police car right behind him.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they knew that I was there. I was a block away from them. Mm-hmm. And kind of little offset, but I could see everything that was going on.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew I was there. Well, I knew he hadn't been sneaking around that building.
Yeah.
So I go to the chief the next day, and I'm like, Chief, we got a problem here.
Yeah.
And I said, I believe Dickie Booger has made a unlawful arrest. Mm-hmm. Now, Dickie Booger was buddy with the chief. And right away, I could just tell. The chief's like, oh, let me grab a notepad here. Yeah, tell me all about it, Brian. What's going on here? Yeah. And you could just hear the sarcasm just dripping off this guy. Sure. And I spent about an hour telling him everything that I know, and he's asking me a little question here, a little question there. And then he starts asking, well, how are your reviews looking lately, Brian? Are you doing a good job right now? I'm like, my job has nothing to do with this.
That was a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was letting you know, shut your mouth.
And all of my reviews had been exemplary.
Yeah.
I always had very good reviews. In fact, I had been promoted at one point to corporal. And, so, and if anyone's wondering, as a corporal, I wasn't a corporal any longer. They promoted 4 of us to corporal, and then they decided they couldn't pay us that anymore, and they demoted us all right back to officers. No. We all lost our rank because there just wasn't enough money in the city, and the chief decided to restructure the department. So whatever. So I was kind of I wouldn't call it downsizing, but I was a victim of restructuring. So anyway.
So he tells you, hey, how's your next review going to look? And
basically, at the end of all this, he says, all right, I'll talk to Dickie. That's all I got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, thank you for your time. Yeah. And I head out. Now, I realized what the message was.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1, Dickie ain't going to get nothing out of this. And number 2, you better watch your butt.
Yeah.
Because now you've just... You tried to kill the king and you missed.
Yep, right.
Well, there's still this little subject of a innocent person sitting in a jail cell, waiting for a trial because he couldn't afford his bail.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, okay, the right thing to do is making sure this kid doesn't get charged with a crime that he didn't commit. Forget about Dickie. That's done. I can't do anything about this.
Right.
I said, what's the best way to do this under the radar to try not to get in any more trouble than I probably already am in? If you think whistleblowers are protected, think again.
Oh, yeah.
Most whistleblowers wind up losing their jobs or getting in trouble, and
or being killed.
And nobody cares.
Yeah, right.
Very few whistleblowers actually get the protection that supposedly they're supposed to get. Anyway.
Yeah. So what was your next step?
I decided, because if I go to the state attorney's office, they're clearly going to go back to the chief and tell him, hey, one of your officers showed up and told us this crazy story.
Right.
I said, well, my goal is to get this kid out of jail. And I know he's a poor kid, so most likely he's got a public defender. I'm going to go to the public defender's office, ask for the lawyer that's representing him, and I was basically going to make a witness statement. It's I was a witness to this incident, and here is my version of what happened, so that they would have enough ammunition at least to go to the DA and say, hey, we have an officer who witnessed this, and they're going to testify on the defendant's behalf.
Yeah.
Now, I asked them, don't give them my name, in case it comes down to a trial. But, I figured by the time it went to trial, things would have been so old they couldn't have done anything to me about it. But anyway, I told one officer that was my plan because everybody hated Dickie, so I thought I was safe talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that officer, after saying, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. That's exactly what you ought to do. Yeah. The next day, apparently ran off to a lieutenant and said, oh my God, Brian's going to go do this thing, and I'm so scared that I'm going to get in trouble too, so I need to tell somebody about it.
Little wimp.
Well, of course, it went right back to the chief,
Sure.
And I don't think I need to tell too many more details of the story. He called me in, and they fired me.
Yep.
And when I appealed it, and tried to get the city manager to see the light of day. Well, he was a coward, and it was well known that the chief pretty much ran the city. The city manager did not run the city. He was pretty incompetent, so the chief knew how to write budgets and do all kinds of administrative stuff. So he basically ran things, and the city manager took credit for it.
So what's it like to you walk in the chief's office and he says what? when he fires
to get
you.
fired?
Yeah.
He basically he said, well, I've heard some pretty disturbing things, and I'm not sure what you were thinking, but we really can't have this going on in this department, so you need to hand over your gun and badge, and right now you're on paid suspension until we do an internal investigation on you. See, now they weren't going to do an internal investigation on Dickie,
Right.
but now they're going to do one on me.
Yeah, right.
Now, the official story became that when I was sitting in that office with that chief that day, he had told me that he was going to do an internal investigation and that I was to not talk to anybody about this situation until the investigation was finished, which did not happen.
Right. He didn't say that.
He never said that.
Right.
He said, I'll talk to Dickie. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him, which is not indicative of an investigation being started. So they fired me for insubordination, for interfering in an official investigation, for sharing confidential information to a lawyer.
Right.
I mean, lawyer-client privilege when it comes to the lawyer and this guy. And,
Sure.
and I was a witness to there. There was no confidential anything,
Right, yeah.
But the whole thing was, you should have gone to the state attorney's office. You're not supposed to be going to public defenders. Well, why? Just because I'm a cop, I can't talk to the lawyers on the other side? Why is that?
And imagine how many weeks or months that kid would have spent in jail unnecessarily if you'd gone to the state attorney instead of gone straight to the
And he would have been
defender's
convicted
office.
too, because
Yeah, right.
it were his word against two cops.
Right.
Who they going to believe?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, that was that.
So-
Law enforcement career over.
How many years were you a cop?
15 total.
And you knew it when you were 14. You want to be a cop, and you got to be a cop for 15 years, and then nobody would hire you after that
Nobody would hire me after that.
because you did the right thing. Again,
Yeah.
there's tons of stories in Brian's book. And again, if you go to WritersWeekly.com, click on the Contact Us button, we'll send you a free copy of the ebook. It's an outstanding book. Outstanding book. So, briefly go through a list of the jobs you had after you were a cop before you came on board with Writers Weekly and Book Locker.
Well, so being fired from police work was both a curse and a blessing, and I'll explain that. It was difficult at first. Now, I was actually on wife number 3 at this point. And she did not take this well and blamed me a lot for our new financial difficulties.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started out, I had done part-time detailing before just to make extra money as a cop. So I knew how to detail cars. So I quickly went and bought myself a trailer and all the equipment that I needed and started doing mobile detail work. Well, one of my customers that I did an old classic car for asked me if I could do an airplane. And I'm like, gee, I don't see why not.
Yeah, why not?
Well, it turns out this guy had a big business where he would fly people to an island in the Caribbean and where he had a big boat where he'd take them out deep sea fishing. So he had 2 aircraft. So he had me do both of them. And I had studied up on what chemicals to use. So I actually turned my little car detailing business into a aircraft detailing business and started making pretty good money. But these were the Obama days. And Barack Obama had threatened at one point to make the rich people, quote, pay their fair share. Well, once the rich people hear that, they stop spending money. And guess who owns aircraft?
Rich people.
It ain't the minimum wage crowd.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I had more and more clients say, "I'm really sorry, Brian. You do great work, but I'm going to have to wash my own plane for a while because I don't know what this pay your fair share means. I don't know how much money they're going to start trying to take from me."
Yeah.
So my business went under. I then went to work for a short period, 6 months or so, for a company called Critical Intervention Services out of Clearwater. They specialize in security for distressed neighborhoods, which is basically the ghetto in Tampa. I liked the job. Now, most security places wouldn't hire me. Wackenhut, the biggest one in the country, which is now I think like GS9 or something like that. Anyway, they wouldn't hire me because I'd been fired for cause.
Right.
And everybody had the same line. Well, we really appreciate that you did the right thing, but we just can't hire you because you were fired. I'm like, well, you just got done saying I did the right thing, so why
Right.
can't we make an exception here?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's rules. Bite me. Anyway, this place hired me. Good job, but it didn't pay very well. Had I stuck around, and if I was able to stick around and not have a very high spending lifestyle. I mean, I didn't have a high spending, but if I could have afforded to live this way, they had a lot of opportunities. They did a lot of consulting work for security for big corporations and power plants and all this stuff. And they did executive protection. You got to do your time and you can get these opportunities. But I just couldn't make ends meet with the money I was making. So
Yeah.
I went to work for a Verizon retailer and sold cell phones when smartphones first were coming onto the scene.
Yeah, and you were very good at that.
I was good at it, made great money there.
Yeah.
Did that for about 2 years. Then a friend of mine in the company used to do insurance. He said, I'm getting tired of selling cell phones. I know I can make a lot more money doing insurance. I'm going to go back into the insurance. He said, hey, there's this company. If you go get your license, I can get you on with this insurance company selling life insurance. I'm like, that sounds interesting. So I went to insurance school, got my insurance license, started working for One Life insurance company, running all around Florida selling life insurance. I kind of enjoyed that job. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And made good money at it. However, in 2013, my father died. It took us like a month to handle all of his affairs. Now he had organized things very well, but my mother could not live on her own.
Yeah.
And they had a nice big house that we needed to get emptied out, cleaned up, and put on the market and sold.
Because mom had to go to assisted
living.
living.
Mom had to go to assisted living.
You had to buy her a place to do that.
And so, we had to move mom to Riverview where my brother lived and find her a place to stay and all kinds of stuff. So that took about a month. Well, I was on commission only. So, a month without working is a month without pay. And when I was finally done and went back home and looked at, what it was going to cost me. Well, I mean, I didn't have any money left. I just had no money, and I didn't have enough money to pay for the gas to go travel around Florida and sell my insurance. So I was in a bind. Well, I happened to be at a little gathering of friends, and I mean, the Lord works in strange ways. Up walks this friend of mine. He's like, hey, listen, Brian, I was checking out this job and it just didn't seem like a good fit for me, but I think you might be interested in it. Here's this card. And it was for a temp agency. He said, go check this out. I go to this temp agency. We're hiring for Health Plan Services, which is a big third-party administrator in Tampa. I said, I'll do anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, right.
And I got hired on, and it's basically I got assigned. I went to their little training and stuff. I started out as a phone customer service rep, for Cigna.
So this company actually handles services for multiple insurance companies.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I was assigned to Cigna, the billing department, but they also did like claims. They did sales. They did all kinds of stuff, and I was in the billing department. I did really well at that job. And within a year, I was a supervisor over a team that it was a brand new team. The director of my department came to me specifically and said, Brian, listen, they've split me off. I have to go build this new team specifically for servicing brokers. You want to be my second in charge? I'm like, yeah. So he brought me on, and so brand new team, and I became a supervisor. So yeah, it worked out very well.
And how long were you there?
3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had to commute from St. Petersburg
and
to
then I met you.
Tampa. Yeah.
I commuted from St. Petersburg to Tampa. I was living on a sailboat at that time. And that's where the losing the police job actually became a blessing. While I was working for the cellular company, I started working in Lakeland, and then I got myself transferred to St. Petersburg, where I had found a sailboat in an old boatyard that was under a tarp, and I got it for dirt cheap, and I started rebuilding it.
Yeah.
And when I got it all, seaworthy, we dropped it in the water, and I started living at the St. Petersburg Municipal Marina.
Yeah.
And I was living a good life.
Yeah.
And so, and I was already living on that boat by the time that I started working for the insurance company.
Yeah.
So life was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I met you.
Then you met me. Yeah.
Life is still good.
And I'll tell the story very quickly. I was having a house party, and my friend Crazy Christine came over to help cook for the party. And she brought this guy with her who I'd never met before. And she let herself in. Fun fact about her, she taught her dog how to poop on command. I've always wondered how people do that. It's like the only thing I can really remember about her. Anyway, she was in the kitchen cooking. I came out of the bedroom because I was still getting dressed. I walked in, and there was this guy standing at my kitchen sink doing my dishes. And it was Brian. And he was there.
Ta-da!
And he and I got to talking that night. They weren't really, dating. They were just,
I was actually at your party because she had invited me to come along, and I wanted to observe how she interacted with other people because she was already starting to show signs of crazy.
Yeah, right.
And I was trying to make a decision of whether or not I really wanted to be a boyfriend to this person or if I needed to run.
Yeah.
And I got my answer pretty shortly.
Yeah. So, so Brian and I talked that night. We exchanged phone numbers. Again, I wasn't stealing him away from her. We just had a lot in common. And the next day, he was texting her to ask her how she was doing. And she texted him back, pretending to be from a third party, saying, Christine can't talk on the phone right now. She's in the hospital. So Brian texted me. I contacted Christine. She was fine. She was at home. So yeah, that wasn't going to work.
Yeah. I realized, okay, this chick is all kinds of crazy.
Yeah,
so,
right.
not a good fit.
So then we kept talking over time, and
well, it turned out we had a lot in common.
We did have a lot in common.
We just had plenty to talk about.
We actually had very similar childhoods. I ran away when I was a kid, and I had taken my report card in junior high, and I changed the F to a B with a marker, and I thought it looked pretty good, but the next day I was walking through the hall between classes, and I saw my mom and dad in the hallway heading for the principal's office because, I didn't trick them. I was a hellraiser when I was growing up as well. Yep. My mother would threaten to send me away to school, and
I got that a few times too.
Yeah, and there was the one time I did have run-in with the police a couple times. One time I was with my boyfriend at the time. I think I was in 10th grade, and we crawled over the fence at the YMCA to go swimming. And it was dark, and the cops showed up, and I said, my dad's the director of the YMCA. I have permission to be here. And they left. We were jumping off the diving board, and my boyfriend accidentally hit me and broke my nose that night. So when I got home, I had to go wake up my parents and say, I think I broke my nose. And I did. I had to have surgery. So anyway, so Brian and I had very similar childhood. We were never into drugs or doing anything like that. We were just energetic and creative.
Just rebels.
Right. So we started, talking more about things. We had so much in common. And one night he invited me over to dinner on his boat and made
chicken marsala for you,
which he still makes for me.
Yeah.
And he got me going back to church. I'd not gone to church for a very long time. He got my two youngest sons, Max and Mason, going to church. And now they both go to church every Sunday. And life just got better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then I bought a boat. Brian told me not to. I did. And then Brian became my captain because I couldn't fix anything. He could fix everything. And eventually sold his boat, moved on to my boat. When COVID came around, RVs and boats were selling for top dollar. And we had an unfortunate storm with a tornado that went over that scared the crap out of Mason. And he didn't want to live on the boat anymore. By that time, Max had already moved off. He was in welding school. And we...
now, in 2016, I met you in 2015.
Right.
And in 2016, you offered me a job.
Oh, I skipped over that part.
You did.
Yeah. So after we met... and we had become good friends.
This wasn't all platonic.
And I had seen what a good writer Brian is, and his ethics, his work ethic. He's the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. He has very high ethics. He always follows the rules. And so I offered him a job. Do you want to come on board with Writers Weekly and Book Locker? And he said, Okay. So, and it was right
my company was being bought up by an Indian company at that time. So I'm like, this would be the best time to jump ship.
Right.
And you offered me more money than they were offering me. And you told me, you said, now, when you go turn in your resignation, they're going to offer you more money. I'm like, they are not going to offer me more money. There's thousands of people in that company. And sure as hell,
they did.
As soon as I gave them that 2 weeks notice, my director called me in and new director. And she's like, Brian, I'm authorized to offer you an extra 10% on your salary if you'll stay with the company. And I'm like, oh my God, she was right.
I was right.
And I'm like, I love working here. I really, really do. But this is an opportunity to do something working at home.
Yeah, right.
And
working
it's
on your
just
boat.
it's a new opportunity that I can't pass up.
Yeah.
And but it felt really good that they wanted me enough to offer me a raise to stay there.
I thought I was going to have to get in a bidding war over you because I really, really wanted
Oh, you mean
I
could have gotten more out of you?
I really, really wanted your talents on board.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to get into a bidding war because I guess I'd already offered you more than that extra 10% would have gotten you. So plus there was the instability of Indian company buys that company and you don't know when they're going to move it out.
They were actually sending people that I knew to India for training, and I'm like, it's only a matter of time.
Oh,
it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, go to India and train your replacement.
Exactly.
That's what they were doing.
I had already made up my mind. I was just shocked when they offered me more money. But I'm like, more money to stay on a sinking ship? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. So, you got us going to church. Yeah. You and I became more than friends. Mm-hmm. We sold the sailboat. Brian had already sold his boat. Then we sold my boat again at a premium because everybody was paying out the wahoo for campers and
everybody wanted RVs and boats
right.
During COVID. They wanted a chance to escape if they had to. Mm-hmm. Yes, because it looked like the whole country was going to become a lockdown police state. It was crazy.
Right. And then we rented a townhouse in South St. Pete for a year while we tried to decide where we wanted to end up. And we heard gunshots every night. That was fun. And then we were in the townhouse one night and I was praying and I said, God, I need an answer. We don't know what to do. We had a few acres in Central Florida with no building on it, just a lot.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but
undeveloped. Yeah.
Right. Excuse me. Allergies are...
No, that's fine. And at the same time, your daughter and son-in-law decided they were going to take their children and move back to Georgia.
Right. Our son-in-law's family lives in Georgia, so they were going to move to Georgia from Florida. Again, this is all during COVID that this is happening. And so I opened my Bible that night and I prayed to God, don't send me any signs or signals. I need you to tell me straight up, what are we supposed to do? And because I'm not really good at those signs and signals, I just, and opened my Bible, put my finger on a paragraph, and it said, flee to the mountains lest ye be consumed.
Yeah.
And told Brian and Mason and Max, and
I said, I like mountains.
And they all agreed.
Yeah.
And even my ex-husband moved up. Yeah. A little while after we did. So,
well, he's co-owner of the company and your boy's father.
Right.
So he followed along. Yeah. Good for him.
And we still get along.
Yeah.
We all get along. We just, got to a certain point after being married for 20-something years. We just were going in different directions. It was very friendly, very, very friendly divorce and everything. Yeah. He still comes over for Christmas and everything.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So we are now living on top of a mountain in Georgia, on top of Sand Mountain. And, again, you're doing church security every Sunday. And in fact, you're getting together this week with a different church, right?
A different church. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and people come over and want firearms instruction and you provide that.
I've got a woman in my church who runs a ladies prayer group, and she has asked me if she can get some women together who want to learn to shoot if I would teach them. I'm like, absolutely, bring them over to the house and I'll teach everybody, not a problem, free of charge.
Yeah. So and we're going to wrap it up pretty quick because it's been going a bit here for now. But what does your job as managing editor of Writers Weekly entail?
Well, I handle a lot of the queries that we get. I decide who gets to write an article and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Who we're going to pay for writing these articles. I put together the newsletter.
Well, hold on. We pay everybody who writes an article.
Well, we do
for us.
pay everybody. Well, yes, we pay. It's who we're going to let write for us.
Right.
Yeah.
We get a lot of query letters from overseas.
I handle when you look at paying markets and you look at the job listings, I handle all those, put them all together, load them up on the website. I handle a lot of the, getting the articles straightened up, edited, and put up. You always check my work too and find all my mistakes.
Well, you find my mistakes too, so it's okay.
And then, that's just all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's like wrapping all that up is like 2 days a week job.
Yeah. It's 2 days straight of working on that
Plus,
stuff.
Plus, you run the podcast, except today.
I produce and edit the podcast. So every time you hear one of these podcasts, I pretty much. Sometimes Angela will come up with the notes for the thing, but I usually do most of the show prep. And then once it gets recorded, I'm the one that sits there and goes over it once or twice again and work all the audio, edit out all the and coughs and long pauses as we try to remember what we were going to say and all that garbage. So yeah, I do that. And then for Book Locker, you started me. Well, I've done just about every job there is to do on Book Locker. You started me out with formatting books. Mm-hmm. I went on to handling the third-party royalties and paying those out.
Right.
I've done some of the accounting stuff.
I wanted to make sure that we've got redundancies all over the company. Yeah. For everything that is done in the company, at least 2 people know how to do each thing. Which is important because one of our employees just had a baby. Yeah. And so you came in and you quickly learned everything. Yeah. And then Then we started book trailers, and now I handle all the book trailers. You're in charge of the book trailer department.
When we started audiobooks, that's my department. I handle all of our audiobooks.
Yep, you handle all the audiobooks.
I jump in and handle covers when we need it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
And you communicate with authors through the dashboard, which is where all the authors can log into their accounts and we can all see those messages and Brian jumps in and helps them. And I had some other readers send in some stories, some questions.
Oh, fun.
One was, how does Brian view the vast level of fraud on the internet and impending dominance of AI on publishing? So let's start with the first one. As a former law enforcement officer, how do you view the vast level of fraud on the internet that we've been exposing for a couple of years now? Okay, well, as far as the fraud is concerned, first thing you got to understand is jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. Most of these fraudsters, now, if it's an American in the United States doing it, chances are the FBI is going to catch them. Most of these people are from other countries, though. The United States has no jurisdiction to arrest those people, to get your money back. Mm-hmm. It's usually gone already. That person spent it on cars and booze and or they've transferred it 14 times,
or they moved it into some account offshore. Who knows? Yeah. So it really is up to you, the person online, to educate yourself and understand how to avoid these frauds. Mm-hmm. You're on your own. You really are. Book Locker and Writers Weekly can help you identify these things. If you write to us, we will help you out. But it really is up to you to make sure you don't get fraud. If it smells fishy, get away from it.
Yep. And never send a bank transfer, people. Just don't do it. Use your credit card all the time.
Okay. As far as AI, when we first started seeing article queries come in and we could tell they were written by a computer and not a human being,
right,
we were very anti-AI. We're like, boy, we're not going to let any kind of AI come in here. But as things have moved forward, it's clear that AI is here. It is here to stay.
And we reserve the right to reject any article, any book, any cover, We had one author insist on designing his own cover. It was clearly AI.
Yeah. We're not going to do that.
Well, first of all, Amazon has rejected some AI books can at any time. I expect that sometime they're going to do a big house cleaning, and all these AI books are going to drop off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
This author in particular, we submitted his book to the Copyright Office. He paid us for our copyright registration service, and the Library of Congress would not register his copyright for the entire book because they knew the cover was AI.
Here's the bottom line. Write your own book.
Yeah.
Now, do you need AI to help you break through writer's block to come up with a plot twist? Fine. But you write the plot twist.
Yeah.
You take that draft and then you write the story based on, AI can help you build the building blocks, but you write your story, your
also
book.
Need to understand that this is a very specific story. An author hired Clayton Jones to edit his book, comprehensive edit. It was expensive.
Yeah.
Clayton Jones is outstanding, by the way. Marketplace.writersweekly.com. Click on editors, and he'll be happy to send you a free quote.
Yeah.
Anyway, the author was thrilled with the editing job, made the book so much better. But then the author decided he wanted to change the story, wanted to go in a different direction. So he went in and started. When authors start editing an edited book, they reintroduce the original errors. Mm-hmm. So he was doing that. He decided to change the plot, change some character. He completely revamped the book. Then he copied and pasted it into an AI program. And now it's an AI book, and it's clearly AI, and it won't be copyrightable. And the original version that was edited by Clayton was far better. And when an author copies and pastes their work into an AI program, from that moment on, those words are used to train that AI program, and that will come up as being AI generated from any publisher who runs manuscripts through those AI detectors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's one more. Jill says, Brian, whose idea was it to get chickens? She sent that in today.
I think we both kind of thought we wanted chickens. I just became the one that's maintaining them.
You have to clean the coop.
I'm the one that cleans the coop. I'm the one that collects the eggs. I'm the one that feeds the chickens. I'm the one that raises the chicks and makes sure they get nice and healthy so they can get into that chicken coop. But I think it was both our idea to have chickens. But in the end, I mean, free eggs all day long. So
I made a huge
and they're fun
batch of eggs this morning.
They're fun to watch.
They are fun.
They've
got
fun birds.
their little personalities.
Yeah, they do. They
just always wash my hands because
Yeah. Okay.
No, we need to wrap it up because you were supposed to leave for church 8 minutes ago.
Well, I just texted somebody to watch those doors for me.
Okay. Well, I hope you all enjoyed hearing how Brian went from being a rambunctious kiddo to a heroic cop, of course, the military in between, and how he now spends his days and nights helping writers and authors earn more money.
Always looking to help people. That's my thing.
And if you have a book that you're considering getting published,
go ahead and contact us at booklocker.com. We've been in business 27 years, family-owned business, and we will treat you right. We're not scammers. You just got done hearing an hour and a half of us sitting here rambling on with each other. We are Americans. Everybody works here in America, and we're going to do the right thing for you.
Yeah.
So come see us at booklocker.com. And when you contact us, you're going to be talking directly to Angela Hoy, the president and CEO of Book Locker. You're not going to be talking to some foreign person in a phone bank in the Philippines. You're going to be talking directly to us.
Everybody talks to me first when they come to Book Locker.
When you work with us, you're going to talk to Angela, or you're going to talk to Allie, or you're going to talk to Justin, or you're going to talk to me. You may get a chance to talk to all of us at some point during your journey through to publishing.
And you probably will talk to we do have other employees and also contractors, but those are the four main people heading up the four main departments. So, yeah.
Yep. So, come see us.
Yeah.
You want me to close this out, or are you closing it out?
You can close it out.
All right. Well, everybody, I do hope you enjoyed this. It's a little more than I tell most folks, but oh well, now the whole world knows me.
Don't forget, 24hourshortstorycontest.com.
You can
Noon
win
Central
money.
Time this Saturday it starts. Sign up before start time.
And as we've done the last several weeks, we're going to end this with a song from Ricky Pittman. This one is called Arkansas Gypsy by the Bard of the South, Ricky Pittman. And we'll see y'all next week on the Writers Weekly podcast. All right. See y'all next time.
See ya.
Bye.
I met a girl in Arkansas with long dark auburn hair, with deep blue eyes and a wicked smile, and skin so soft and fair. She was a gypsy, wild and free, her beauty was a spell. She worked her magic skillfully, a web she wove so well. Some say gypsies bring you luck, others that they steal. Some say they bring you wealth, others that they heal. They can look into your future with cards or crystal ball. I think she looked inside my heart and somehow stole it all. The first time that I kissed her, she took my breath away. The moon was full and the rum was warm, and I must have lost my way. She lulled me to sleep that night with a gypsy lullaby. And as I sank into the dark, I swear I heard her cry. I woke alone without her, along a mountain stream. In the mountains of Arkansas, perhaps she was a dream. I often think about her, and that night I do recall, but I never saw her again in the hills of Arkansas.